for architects, it's difficult to look at historical style in an uncritical way. But Claremont Hall, in a very difficult site, dropped itself down in a very respectful way that makes connection to the neighborhood. Whatever you think of that genre of architecture, it is responsible and is giving back to the community in a way that, is to be respected.
I recently had a conversation with iconic architect Robert Stern here on the show, and he told me how he opposes modern buildings that are insensitive to their surroundings. Well, in this next project, there was opportunity to get that wrong. Am I right, Paul?
Yes, indeed, Eileen. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
We actually were very nervous about taking this project on. We love this neighborhood. There are lots of important historic buildings here. And so you can imagine the huge amount of effort we put into studying this building in models and analyzing how the scale of the building would work with the surrounding buildings. And we also looked at materials to make sure that the materials on the building would look like they grew naturally out of these historic early 20th century Gothic Revival academic buildings. So you can see on the left the low buildings of Union Theological. On the right you can see some of the structures of Riverside Church. You can see that the building steps up in several places. And if you look more closely, those steps and the size of those steps are very closely related to the historic buildings on the ground. So what that does is it allows the pedestrian or a neighbor to understand the scale of the building.
Very interesting. And this building is in a beautiful neighborhood, a vibrant university community.
Exactly. Right.
It's a lovely place for a residence.
Absolutely. This is Morningside Heights. That's another reason we took this project on, is because we thought that we could do a great job of adding some density and height to this college town while making it a better version of itself.
Now, I understand that you're putting the finishing touches on the building.
Indeed.
But can we still take a look?
I think we can. Let's take a walk.
Let's go.
Okay.
I see what you mean, Paul. We have the beautiful campuses, the open parks, the gorgeous cathedrals. The character of this neighborhood is very unique.
It is indeed. Morningside Heights is one of the most memorable neighborhoods in Manhattan. Mm-hmm. And when all of these institutions were built at the early part of the 20th century, people thought of this neighborhood as the Acropolis of Manhattan.
Oh, I see. Like in Greece, the Parthenon on top of a hill. That's
exactly.
Fabulous.
But whereas in Athens, that hill is still very visible, in New York, the buildings have gotten so big that it's hard to see at the hill. And so to be able to live in a tower on the Acropolis of New York is an extraordinary thing indeed.
We're on a terrace now, a residence terrace.
Exactly. And the detailing that we brought onto this terrace is very similar to the detailing at the bottom of the building that you see on the street.
I haven't seen such detailing on contemporary towers.
That's true. This kind of detailing is much more typical of masonry construction. If we look at Columbia University, for instance, all the corners of those buildings have stone trim on them. Mm-hmm. And we're taking that tradition up here onto a private terrace.
And you're paying homage to this existing architecture that's here.
Exactly.
You're not wasting any view here.
We love to use bay windows, and especially on this building because it is a Gothic Revival building, and those windows also refer to the Union Theological Seminary buildings which this building rises out of. The
material choices make it feel very homey.
I think so. The detail of the cast stone against the brick is very residential in feel. When you come out onto your private terrace, you can look up and see this beautiful curve at the bottom of the bay. You see the scallops in between the windows. All that detailing is the kind of detailing that you might find in a beautiful house, but it's also the kind of detailing that you see right over here at the Tower of Riverside Church. And in fact, what we've done is we've simplified the detailing of that wonderful church tower to use it in a sleek 21st century apartment building.
In this apartment, the kitchen is part of the living space.
Exactly. Other apartments in this building have kitchens that are totally separate, but here they're combined. And that's the way most people like to live these days. Even in a large house or a large apartment, we find that people like to have that connection between cooking and their guests and their family.
Well, this piece looks as if it's a piece of furniture as well.
Exactly. It's the kitchen island here. It separates the kitchen from the living room dining, but it also brings them all together because it is the place where everybody can come together. People often think of the kitchen as the center of the house, and then the island is the center of the kitchen where everybody comes together.
This material, it has a fresh, very contemporary look to it.
I think a lot of people are going to think this is marble, but it's actually a composite. And that means that it stains less easily and it scratches less easily than marble.
6-burner stove, no hood.
It's important for the kitchen to sometimes disappear, but there is a hood here. When you pull this out, the fan comes on, the light comes on, and you can do proper cooking as you would in your house. We added these 2 vertical elements on the side that to us remind us of certain Art Deco paneling, and it's very vertical. Remember that we're in a Gothic revival building. We love the idea that the outside of the building comes inside, even to the details of the kitchen cabinets.
And I love the subway tile.
And the texture that this tile has makes it look like it's homemade and really brings it home, as it were.
That's one of the experiences that I really loved entering the apartment, was the sense of home and the door knocker on the door, a foyer that you walk into that reminds me of pre-war apartments.
That's right. We always want to have a foyer because we want to have a place where we can greet our guests, greet our family, and that foyer becomes a transition between the world of the outside and the comfortable world of your own home. So Eileen, this is all real marble. We have marble lining the entire interior of the primary bathroom.
Well, this feels like a very luxurious bathroom.
Well, thank you. The reason is because it's all custom designed by our office. We have the vanity over here has built-in wood drawers here, lots of storage. It really feels like a piece of furniture in the bathroom. It's an enormous mirror where whoever can look at themselves, and the whole thing opens up at the same time for additional storage. Even the light fixtures were designed by our office. And the marble then continues to the floor, where we've created a pattern that's sort of like a rug with a center and then a beautiful border around the edges.
And it goes right into the shower, floor to ceiling.
The marble completely lines the shower as it does the WC right next to it.
Yeah, it's quite nice. I can spend a lot of time in here.
Well, you should, and people will. This is a wonderful place to start and end your day.
What an extraordinary Gothic revival. Huge space this is.
I agree. I think that this is going to be one of the great rooms of New York. It's always been one of the great rooms. This is where all the students dined. And now, of course, there's no need for a big refectory. So we put all our heads together and thought, well, what can we do here? And we thought, well, why not put the swimming pool here? And look at it, it's 50 feet long. It is going to be, I think, one of the most memorable pool spaces in the world.
Yeah, it is pretty special. I understand they're putting a floor over the pool.
It's a tradition in some of the great houses on Long Island, for instance, that they would take their indoor pool and they wanted to use it as a ballroom, for instance, and they would cover it up in a very clever way, and that's what's happening here. And so we're looking to that great tradition of the New York area, but using it not for a mansion, but for a community of people.
Paul and his team at Robert A.M. Stern used a delicate and skilled hand here. It acknowledges history while earning its place in the next chapter of New York.
If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more every week.